This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed. Originally, I planned to do a longer video on the Klingon sword or Bat'leth, but due to recent new releases, I see the necessity to bring out some of the content now. If you use the Klingon sword in the way shown here, it feels simply awkward. And that has been recognized by a lot of people already. Among them, Shad, who came up with a new version of the Bat'leth that is simply humongously large. So please, all guys that already put something out on the Klingon sword, forgive me for my harsh words here, but you all got it wrong. I really love your content, but here I have to disagree with all of you. In my opinion, the secret of this sci-fi weapon is that nobody listens, because everywhere where you read and listen, you would hear that this thing is a scimitar. And we all know heavy curved weapons will tell you how they want to be moved. So we just have to transfer this to the Klingon sword. And that simply means one thing: these outer edges are the primary edges of the weapon. You can see this already when people swing the Bat'leth around. It naturally orients in this way, and it feels awkward because most people try to force the inner edge to the front. If you hold the weapon in thumb hold like a European longsword, separate video on this hold, linked below, then you can cut with the primary edge and let the tips follow in a secondary strike. So this is really the only secret. You have to understand the primary cutting edge, and then all the movements with the Klingon sword become much more natural. It's not necessary to attach an additional long curved blade to it like Shad did. We can even fix the normal attack to the head by simply adding a cut with the primary edge before it. Even when holding the thing in half sword, we don't have to go for the stupid move up thingy. We can nicely make a sweeping aside and cutting with the primary edge. Also, we can now use common sword techniques with the Klingon sword, with the advantage that we have a second side, the butt side, with the spikes to attack. So, for example, we can use, as here, the Krumpau with the primary edge followed by the spike. Same goes here for the Unterhau. Again, primary edge for setting aside the sword and attacking with a secondary strike with the spike. If you're used to perform Krumpau and Unterhau in thumbhold with a German longsword, it's not very difficult to immediately perform that with a Klingon sword. Krumpau and Unterhau are of course just examples. You can also use Zwerchhau, Scheitelhau, Knichelhau, or whatever you want to do. If you can perform it with a sword, you can perform it with a Klingon sword. But why do we have more handles on this strange weapon? Yeah, this brings advantages if you perform half sword, so in fight. In close quarters, this is quite handy, and you can still perform cuts with the primary edge. With the third handle, we can even switch back from half sword into normal hold in no time. In a normal sword, we would end up in Mordshau, so with a reversed weapon, but the Klingon sword is symmetric. But what are the small spikes for? Yeah, really easy. They help you in disarming when they are on the so-called backside. They act similar to prongs and make disarming much easier and safer. We'll link a video below to disarming with prongs. So, by just letting the weapon orient in the way it wants to orient, you get a really effective weapon with a lot of edges and the option to safely disarm your opponent. But I could simply use a sword, or no, we saw that half sword is better with the Bat'leth, and throwing is much better with the Klingon sword than it is with the normal sword because of all the edges and all the spikes. Dan Curry told stories that he would throw the early prototypes of the Bat'leth, and there's a strange Chinese throwing weapon that also looks astonishingly similar to the Bat'leth in certain aspects. So, while still playing a bit with these weapons around here, one last sentence to all that. Everyone who has thought the Bat'leth is a bad weapon, please give it another chance. Just let it orient the way it wants, and then see if you still think it's awkward. In free play, we clearly found that the scimitar that has been designed here to look a bit like a Bat'leth also behaves a lot like it in certain instances. And we found that the Bat'leth really is good in half sword and in disarming. I can only hope that Shad, Scalagrim, and all the others out there are not mad with us. It's just an idea that we have. Maybe there is something to it. Please give it a chance, and maybe you can report back whether you found the idea even more stupid than the original one, or whether it really improved something. As always, we hope that you could learn something, or hopefully even got inspired by some of the things we have shown here. And we hope, of course, to see you around next time.